introduce to the audience a very nice friend of mine. He's a British lawyer and a very eminent personality and very popular, based in London and Berkeley, and he is associated for quite a long time. So I feel honored to introduce Clement. He's the partner for Garth Associate. And Clement, how are you doing today?
I'm fine, enjoying the weather, as you said. It's
That's great. It's a nice weather outside, very sunny after so many days.
Definitely.
And I want to thank you for taking out your busy time. I know you are a very busy lawyer nowadays, are really busy because the new products are really keeping them busy as well. Thank you very much for joining the show.
It's a pleasure, and thank you for the opportunity. As always, it's always just a good opportunity for us to cooperate with Berkeley Middle East. So hopefully this will be a productive webinar, and we'll be the first of the many.
Thank you. Looking forward. And we were watching deeply about Brexit, and post-Brexit scenario looks really exciting, where everyone is equal to come to UK if they qualify, of course, the category. So people want to know what are the new things that has been introduced yet. And of course, I would request you one by one that we go in as much detail we can go to share, to enlighten people about these opportunities.
Correct. Okay. I think it will be good. It will be good. There are so many changes. It may help if you want to go through category by category, and I'll be happy to help.
Okay. That's great. So let's start with the most the category that is most demanded.
Okay. I think the most important one with all the changes is the so-called skilled worker category. It used to be referred as Tier 2, a technical term. So it's part of the new policy that they are moving away from these technical terms and trying to use simple terminology defining the categories. So it's called skilled worker. That's the new category for those who wish to come to the UK to be employed by a UK company. Now, I'll try and explain. There are so many changes, as I said, but I want to keep it simple and try and explain the principle. Prior to Brexit, as you know, EU nationals, they were free to come to the UK and take on any employment. Now, after Brexit, EU nationals are also subject to the same immigration rules that any other nationals are. So there are no actually preferential rules or treatments for EU nationals. As a result, we will be going through this maybe transitional period of 2-3 years. Things may change down the line. So policymakers agreed that businesses will need time to adapt to the new regime. Prior to Brexit, for a UK company to employ a foreign worker, they had to, in short, meet 2 tests. One of them is the skills level. The second one was the salary level. The most important one is the skills level. They were only limited to roles, for managerial roles, engineering roles, for example, business development, marketing manager, but any roles at lower levels, for example, a personal assistant, company secretary, or maybe a personal assistant in like a training coach, or restaurant manager. Those were defined as lower skilled categories, and they were not eligible for sponsorship or for UK companies to employ a migrant worker, because the EU nationals were actually fulfilling that gap. Now, EU nationals are also subject to the UK immigration control. Businesses in the UK, they also need lower level skilled workers. That's why Home Office decided we have to reduce the threshold. So technically it used to be so-called NQF level 6. Now it has been reduced to NQF level 3. But it makes more sense when I give examples. As I said, for example, a restaurant manager can be now employed by a UK company which has a license, as long as the business can explain the person in question is the most suitable person that the business needs. The second requirement, the salary threshold, there used to be a general minimum of £30,000 gross per annum, That was the general overall minimum. And then you had to look at the occupational code minimum. So you have to pay whichever is higher. Because they reduced the skills level, they had to reduce the salary threshold also. So it went down to around 25,000. That's also important because it kind of allows small-scale businesses to sponsor migrant workers, and maybe they wouldn't be able to afford if the salary level remained at 30,000, but it's now around 25,000. So businesses who genuinely need skilled workers at lower levels will able to employ a migrant worker. So this is good news because, I mean, it confirms UK is pro-business as usual, and they moved away from, I would say, the old regime was a bit more rigid and defined, and it would only accept certain categories. Now they prioritize the business need. But this does not mean, obviously, that they do not have the right to turn down an application made by someone who is not a genuine employee. So the so-called genuine business need and the genuine vacancy is there. As long as these requirements are met, now it's more effective way of controlling immigration for UK businesses. So in short, that's how I would explain. I mean, this is good news for many small-scale businesses that may be worried that when things go back to normal, especially for catering businesses, if they're worried that, you know, who would they be employing if they don't have these EU nationals coming, they have the new rules which would allow them to actually employ a migrant worker and sponsor them.
That's amazing. I think.
I don't know if this. Feel free to ask if you need more details, because as I said, I don't want to confuse the audience with technical.
That's great. Yeah. So related to your points, is about, we are talking about a list of which we call as most demanded occupations.
Yes.
In which the good news for the audience is there are so many designations which qualifies. If you're an IT engineer, IT profession, if you are from key health workers like nurses, doctors, they are really in demand.
Correct. I gave some of these kind of, you may refer them as more admin roles, but the general requirement for the skills level has been reduced. And we have a list, and it may be practical if we share the list of what jobs are acceptable following the webinar, and anyone who may have an inquiry, would my role be eligible, and they can refer to that list and see if that occupational code is acceptable, because we have that list and I'm happy to share that.
That's great. That will be a great help for the audience if they come to know what are those professions where they can fit in, and if it is the case, then the situation is quite likely suitable for them. My other question is in this way that what is this point-based system that has been introduced related to this category?
I mean, the reason they refer to it as point-based system is that from different categories, you'll be scoring points when you get a visa, and you need to score minimum number of points. It's just to make it easier for case workers to assess each category. For example, for the skilled worker category, your offer and the salary rate, and then the actual English level that you need to meet, or the so-called maintenance requirements, you'll be scoring points for all these requirements for the specific category. And it used to be, I have to say, not serving the purpose, because you would either score the full point or you wouldn't. Under this category, you may actually use certain points, for example, if you have a PhD degree, to substitute it with maybe the salary level requirement. That way you're making up the points that is required for that specific category. The new system is more effective now, it makes more sense. Let me just give an example. For example, student visa, it used to be you need to have the maintenance requirement and you get 10 points. You need to meet the English requirement, you get 10 points. And then if you have CAS, you also get, let's say, 20 points. And if you have 40 points, you get the visa. But there wasn't any other way of scoring points. You couldn't score 30 points, or you couldn't score 35 points. Under this new regime, as I said, you can actually trade some points and you just make up the points that you need to get the visa that you're applying under. And also the plan is down the line, when someone needs to apply or wants to apply for settlement, your points also will be added. So it's just a long-term planning, and also it's a kind of a practical way of assessing categories just to make sure that you qualify through different routes. So
That's
now,
great.
yes, what we're going through is more productive.
That's great. So one more question that we generally receiving is about the English language capabilities.
Correct.
So what score is required for this kind of
It's
category?
now overall, in more or less all the categories, it's a B1 level, and it doesn't make sense when you say B1 to many, but it's maybe if I say IELTS around 4, IELTS level 4, most probably that would make more sense if anyone is familiar with the IELTS test. There are quite few acceptable test centres which are organised and which are appointed by the UK immigration authorities, and they provide these tests. So it's not only IELTS, but some others. So in speaking, listening, writing, and reading, you have to score minimum B1 level. For IELTS, that's equal to around IELTS 4. It's not too high. I wouldn't say it's too high.
I think four is the score that if you are a school leaver and you just go and give your test, I think
Correct.
5.5 you can at least get easily.
Correct. So it's not too high. B1 is not too high.
Unlike in Canada, we are always seeking for 7.5 and written, of course, so it means that it is a sort of piece of cake for those people who really those who have good English, they are relaxed, Even those who have bad English, still score is too
correct.
Threshold is too low to meet them. Yeah.
I mean, this makes sense because this is the so-called case-by-case assessment. So they don't want to restrict a genuine employee and have a really high threshold for English if that level is not required for their job. Also, that's why also there are no formal qualification requirements. So applicants would not be required to have a minimum bachelor degree or master degree. It's just they would look at the applicant's profile, background, experience, and then the business, and judge, is this a genuine employer-employee relation? And then if that's that, visa would be approved. So it has to be case by case.
That's amazing. And some people do ask this question that if they have cleared their O-levels and A-level exams from Cambridge outside the UK, so will it be still considered as an English language, or they need to
no. Even if let's say they are studying at a UK university in their second year, third year, because they don't have a UK degree, they would still have to take the test.
So means that they should have a UK degree within the UK or outside the UK?
Both are acceptable. I mean, if, for example, you have a degree from UAE and your degree was taught in English, so you may want to use that degree and you apply to UK NARIC, which is the organization that confirms if your English level as part of that degree is enough and sufficient for the purpose that you're applying. So you may get your degree from outside the UK assessed. It may be sufficient. It may not be. It depends on the degree you have. But if you have a UK degree, that ticks the box for English language requirement.
Okay. That's great. So there are some genuine employers always that, for example, there are British employers, restaurants, and they are always looking for some chef. They are in Arabic, for example, cuisines, or maybe Indian cuisines and Pakistani cuisines. So they need people genuinely from outside, and web developers, accountants. And what I feel as a group CEO, sometimes I feel that my employee sitting in Abu Dhabi, I need him in London because he's more closer to my heart, and he does the things more faster than the one that I will hire from the open market. So
as long as you can explain and justify your decision that it's a genuine business decision and that this is important for your business to expand and grow, then yes. But on the contrary, I mean, if it comes across as you are generating this specific role to secure an immigration status for someone whose priority is just to have a status in the UK, then of course they would have the right to refuse it. That's why it's now more subjective assessment. Okay, so it's case by case. That Home Office would try and keep it simple. If on paper and on the face of it, it's obvious that it's a genuine employer-employee relation, they wouldn't make the case longer than required. But if they have any reservations, they have the right to ask further information. So they would ask, how did you identify this person? Why is this person the most suitable person for this role? What are their credentials and experience or qualifications? So they would try and understand, was this a genuine? But they don't do this automatically. They just look at the application and decide if they should make further inquiries.
That's great. I think previously, before Brexit, maybe a big size employer used to have foreign workers like UBS or maybe HSBC. But after post scenario, do you think that only the big size employer can hire you, or any medium or lower size can also hire a foreign worker?
On the contrary, I think following the new rules, there will be so many small or medium scale businesses applying to have a license. I mean, we haven't discussed, we've been focusing on the actual visa for the employee, but prior to that, the business would need to register themselves as a company which may employ a migrant worker. So effectively, you apply for a license first, and you almost go to a short audit as a company. You know, you show that you're based in the UK and you have a UK bank account and you're genuinely trading. Then you get a license for 4 years. So following Brexit, you have so many businesses applying to obtain this license, and from different sectors that we wouldn't normally have an interest, because they would have their employees from the EU market and that they wouldn't need a license. But now they do. For example, we have local gyms that they employ trainers, personal trainers. They wouldn't normally be able to employ these under the sponsorship. Now they will. So these companies would have to apply for a license. And as I explained, lower skill jobs would be okay to sponsor. So as I said, I would think more companies are going to have license, not just big companies and big organizations.
Yeah. I think that's a good news, and where this product becomes really workable in a way that a small, medium, and larger employers in UK, what I understood is they have to get a license to hire a foreign worker. So there is a bit of part on their shoulder which solicitors are doing for them until they get their own license. Then they can hire right skill for them. And as I understood from your talks, it's a point-based system. So there are points for your salary, and there are your points for your skills, and there is a points for your English language. And these all points minimum should reach to 70 points.
Correct.
So if they reach 70,
yes, then you're okay. But again, I mean, to me, these are a bit technicalities, and it's just, again, there is no need for the audience to be confused. It's all about being practical. So they didn't want to focus on, okay, we are saying that the minimum salary level is, let's say, 25,600. But what if someone can't meet that requirement? Do we say no? No, they look at, okay, if this person is, let's say, an academic or someone at that level, they normally don't get that salary. There are certain exceptions so that they trade points. Even though they don't score the minimum maybe from the salary, they get other points because of their skills. So this is, again, just trying to be practical and not having something like a rigid system wouldn't help all the businesses. So that's why they have this flexibility. But English, you have to have 10 points, or maintenance, you have to have 10 points. It's about the salary level mainly.
That's great. I think anyone above 26,500 pounds plus a British degree already have a good English language test.
And that's reasonable. Yes, I think that's
they are the ideal candidates to enter in. That's great. These are some few questions I ask is actually shared by the audience during all these days, and I think they get a great they got their answers. So it's the right time to move to the next category.